This is Geometry Dash.
Otwórz się na naturę. Otwórz się na przestrzeń do życia.
I wtedy Helena ją zobaczyła. Szokująco dobrą ofertę BookBeat.
Welcome everyone to one of the... If you go to these guys, Get Anymore kind of looks like an exact replica. What do you want your design to look like? And for me, I'm going to choose a, orangey, more purple-ish stuff because I like those colors a lot. So it is actually very difficult to decorate this entire thing. So what I like to do is you can call it like a cheat code. I like to go to a new layer. Let's go to layer 9. And then what I want to do is just place a corner block right there and then move it to the bottom and then to the right. And this way, you can see that the distance between this and that is basically one single block. And in here, it's also one single block, which is perfect. Now we have created a cool distance and you just want to copy and paste it and make sure that it is always one single block between your newly added outline and also the previous outline. So now what we want to do is just create like an inline, you can call it, that always has the same distance. And to do that, it's actually very simple. You just place a corner block right there and then bottom right, and that should be placed at the perfect spot. So in here we want to fill it, so we're just going to fill this as we want just to make sure that it always is perfect. So now you guys can see that everywhere when we move this square, it always fits perfectly inside these gaps, which is just phenomenal, exactly what we want. So just don't forget about the corner blocks as well. Let me just use this one, move it, copy and paste, move it over there, and boom, nice. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm going to split my design into two different sections. The inner one is going to be black and the outer one is going to be our actual design, and this is just gonna like give it a lot better look because it just feels like it's two different block designs on top of each other. other, which I think always looks phenomenal. So now you guys see that we have a black outline, but we don't have a black outline for this one, which is not that very cool. So we're going to go to a new layer and actually add an outline. However, this time we don't want it to be an inline like this, because if we do that, it doesn't look that good anymore. It kind of looks like an exact replica of the one on the top. So the outline has to be on the other side. So it's something like this, right? So this place is basically always surrounded. We're gonna be using these guys and placing them like so, and another, so that way copy and paste this is always perfect. And if they overlap, it doesn't really matter. What really matters only here is that the distance is always the same and that the outline is fully covered. So we don't want to forget the corner blocks right there, and you guys are going to see that this is going to look a lot cleaner. So after doing that, just deselect and select everything, edit object and give it 4, and edit group and give that one a 1. So now you guys can see that we're just cooking right now. You guys can see that everywhere where this square is, it always is surrounded by black and then by white, which is just perfect. So now what we're gonna do is we're going to go.
Work is a pain in the apps. My files are in this app. My chat's in this app. Projects in that app. Oh, wow.
To a new layer. So let's say we go to like layer 10 or so, and then we want to fill the inner block with completely black blocks. So to do that, you're just going to go to here, and you could choose this one, but I don't like choosing that. And the reason for that is because if you select it, click on like edit object and then give it a color, let's say you give it like red, it's actually not going to change color because by default this block is black and you cannot change the color of it. So just use this one, which is a lot better, and by default it's going to be white, but it doesn't really matter. We're going to change that. So just place it like that and just make sure that all of it is covered. So cover everything, and then what you want to do is delete the ones that are outside. So this one is outside, this one is outside, this one is outside, this one is outside. However, now there is a small problem because you guys can see that we have filled the area. However, there's this small area that is still not filled. So to do that, you just want to go to these spikes and scroll to the right, and you should see this specific block. So you just want to basically put these like so. So those ones are just like these ones, but they are scaled on 0.5. And you don't have to scale these ones, you can just use those ones. So now select everything, give it the color of 4, which is black, and now by going like that, you guys should see that we are starting to cook. So now what you want to do is, you know, think about what kind of block design do you want to have. So in my case, I want it to be kind of glowy. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to go to these blocks, which I think look very, very cool, and I'm going to place them like so. And again, always when you add a new type of thing, you want to add them on a new layer. And in case you forgot and you accidentally added these on here, what you can do is select them, of course, and then click on edit group, and in here you can see editor L. L stands for layer, so you want to click in here like 5, so a free layer, which is 5. And now you guys can see that if you click on go to layer, you're gonna go to 5, which is just perfect. So I want to fill this in like with these guys, but I feel like they are a bit too big. And also another thing you want to make sure when you make your block design is that it should not feel too basic, right? So these blocks are super duper basic, and if I just like spam them like so, it's not going to look that good. So I'm gonna have to add my own twist to it and kind of make it a bit more original. And to do that, we're gonna select all of these guys, click on scale, and we're gonna scale them down to 0.5, and this way they're kind of the same, but they They're also very different. So you want to copy and paste them pretty much everywhere. Copy and paste like that, and then just make sure that everything is filled. And now you want to delete the ones that are not in the places where you want. So those ones, for example, we don't want them, and these guys also we don't want them, those ones we don't want. And now you guys can see that we have filled this, which is starting to look pretty good. However, we don't want to fill the inner stuff as well, so we're just gonna get rid of that as well, like so. And now we have our block design solely where we want it, which is very important. You could add blocks behind the stuff where you don't need it, but it's going to be very unoptimized. So if you have a block that's here and you don't want to make it visible, just delete it, because that's gonna lead to a bit of issues if you don't. Okay, so we are super duper organized. We are creating a very gonna lead to a bit of issues if you make it visible, just delete it, because if you have a block that's here and you don't want to make it visible, just delete it, because that's gonna lead to a bit of issues if you don't. Okay, so we are super duper organized. We are creating a very original block design. So what I'm gonna do now is, I always suggest doing this when you want to when you have a color palette in your head and you want to kind of implement it. It is very important to start changing the entire atmosphere of the level so that you can see exactly how it looks like. So what I mean by that is change
Sensodyne Clinical Repair zaczyna naprawiać nadwrażliwe zęby w 2 minuty. To jest wyrób medyczny. Używaj go zgodnie z instrukcją używania lub etykietą.
the background, the ground, and the colors of pretty much everything. So go to the settings up here, choose a different background. I'm gonna choose this one. I think it looks pretty cool. You can choose whatever you want. If you're using a block design that is for pixelated, I would, suggest using this one, or I think also that one is pretty cool, but I'm not using pixelate, so I'm gonna use that one. You could use pixelate and non-pixelate, but I don't think it fits that well, so we're gonna choose another ground as well, we're going to choose this ground. So this menu is basically where you can like set very basic stuff about your level, the start of your level. So now we have a new background, which is pretty cool. And by clicking on the gear again and on this plus right here, you guys are going to see that there is a color menu where you can basically change the color of the background. So we're going to make it fully like purple like that, and then we're going to make it a bit darker. I always like to have my background very dark, and the reason for that is because I want to make a glowy styled level, which is why it is important to have the background as dark, so that the glowy block design just stands out really, really well. So go to the
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44, a complete AI creation platform.
gear, and I'm gonna make the ground 1 and the ground 2 to black. So now you guys can see that we have created something. It looks pretty nice. So now we have the atmosphere, so it is very purpley. So to make the block design stand out, I'm gonna make like these squares. I'm gonna make them orange, and to do that you just want to select everything and go to edit object. Now this one has a base and a detail color, and what this means is the base is basically like the outside, like the black stuff, and the detail is the white stuff over here. So we want to change the white stuff. So to do that, just go to detail and then select color 6 like so, and then you can change the color over here. So we want to make it blending, very, very important, and we want to make it kind of like orange, kind of like that. Yeah, and then just click on OK, and you guys should see that the colors have changed to kind of orange, which I think looks very, very nice. So if this was not blending, I'm gonna show you guys how terrible that would look. You guys see that it's orange, but it's just very plain orange and it doesn't look that good. So I'm gonna go here and actually make it blending. And also, in case you guys didn't know, a color is always the same. So if we change the color of 6, like we make it, for example, let's say blue, it's going to make everything blue because that's the color channel that everybody is on, right? So yeah, so now what we're gonna do is, this looks very lame and we said we want to make it a glowy stuff. So what we're gonna do is go to a new layer yet again, because we want to add new stuff. So I'm gonna go to layer 8 and I'm gonna add glowy objects. I'm gonna add these ones. I'm gonna add 4, just like we did when adding the block design, and then I'm gonna select everything and then make it kind of small. And now by just moving it like that, you guys will see that it perfectly aligns with the squares and exactly what we want. So we're just gonna copy and paste everything and copy and paste them down, and then copy and paste everything again and place it like that, and just delete the ones that you do not need. In our case, it is the outer ones and also the very inner ones. So now we have created these guys, and we're going to give them the exact same color as the blocks. So it's going to be 6, and now you guys are going to see that there is a small difference. So this is without and this is with. However, what you want to do is select all of these guys, like the glowy stuff, and then click on scale, and then make sure that this one is enabled and scale them up. So this way you are basically scaling everything up, and you can check in how they look. And yeah, that looks not bad. And also, another thing is that since this one is going to be way behind, what we're going to do is select all of them and then edit group and then go to B4. So this is going to put them in the very, very back. And we want these to kind of be in the front, so B3. And now you guys will see that it just looks a lot cleaner. And what you can do is if you think it's a bit too bright, you can select all of them and then click on this one and then click it again. So now you're changing. Then you want to drag the brightness down. So you guys can see that if we drag it all the way to 0, they're going to be pretty much invisible. And all the way to 2, it's going to be a lot. So we're going to bring it all the way to maybe 0.7, something like that. And yeah, we're starting to look very very nice. And also another thing I like to do is select them again and then go to the first layer, so to all, and then double click this one again, and I like to give it a new HSV. So we're gonna do something like this. Actually, I'm gonna go kind of red, yeah, HSV all, and then double click is select them again and then go to the first layer, so to all, and then double click this one again, and I like to give it a new HSV. So double click this one. Again, and I like to give it a new HSV. So we're gonna do something like this. Actually, I'm gonna go kind of red, yeah, like that looks pretty nice. So -20 perhaps, and maybe a bit brighter. So like that looks pretty cool. And now we have like this orangey with red on top of it, which is gonna look a lot cooler. You guys see, this looks very nice. And later on, we're actually gonna make them, we're gonna add an effect to kind of change the color of all of them, like kind of like a rainbow, but we're gonna get to that in a bit. So now it is, when you're making your block design, it is all about just keep adding new stuff until it looks good. Now it is very important to make sure that your block design doesn't look too messy and not weird. So what I would suggest is actually take taking breaks, because when you take breaks and come back to your block design again, you're gonna feel like your block design is brand new. So you're gonna basically like have a look at it from a new angle, you can say. So if there were any flaws in it or any things that you don't like, you're gonna spot them instantly. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna add new stuff. We're gonna spice it up even more. So we're gonna go to layer 1, and then what we're gonna do is simply just add more stuff. So I have an idea that is basically kind of, you can see it as light, and you're gonna see exactly what I mean. So add these ones if you want to, and then kind of copy and paste them like so, and just do that, and then just copy and paste them again and again, and perhaps one more time. So what I'm trying to do is basically add, you can say like light inside the blocks. I'm gonna give it a different color so it kind of stands out as well. But now the problem is that we only want this to be visible between these two sections over here. So what we're gonna do is delete every single one of them that is basically outside. So this one is outside, so somehow we're gonna have to fill in this area, and I already told you guys that you can use these ones to fill in like that. However, this one has to be like a slope so that it fits perfectly. So we can use one of these guys, put them like so, and then scale them down to 0.5. And you don't don't want to do any free movement like so, but rather what you want to do is select them like that. Just move these guys, and now you guys can see that there's a small issue. You can't really move these like that, and there is a very sneaky cheat code that I found, and it is to basically go to build and then select this one and then move it to the right while having that selected. And it is very weird, but once you select this one, the grid goes to really small, so the movement of this one gets really small. And now by just using this one, it's gonna be perfectly aligned, and you guys can see it just looks phenomenal. So this one also goes out, so we're gonna copy and paste that one as well, put it in here, and this one should be, yeah, we're gonna move this one again like that, yeah, and then I'm gonna fill in like so, and like that. Yeah, this looks good. And these two we don't really need because they're inside, they're not going to be visible. This one, it doesn't really matter because this one's going to be behind the black stuff, so if it stays like that, it is okay. Or if you want to, you can just do that, but it doesn't really matter anyway. So this one doesn't go, doesn't matter. This one is a bit of a problem, so what we're going to do is we're going to actually select everything and move them like so. Like, actually I'm going to do this and then move them down and then left, and what this is going to do is basically we want to not have these, but we want these to be perfectly aligned to the corner. So we're going to move it a bit more time, yeah, like that. Looks pretty cool. And the rest we don't really care, so this one could stay like that, or if you want to, you can do this. So now this one we also don't need because we can just copy and paste the smaller one, and we have created our lighting, which is just very cool. So we want to give this a new color, so select everything and give it a click on edit object, and then give it the color of 10, and then you can make this also a like orangey and also blending as well. And then what you want to do is go to all and then double click on this one, and now you guys can see that there's this menu where you can play around. So I would say let's have this as, oh yeah, purple looks very nice, a bit dark. Yeah, this is looking spicy. So yeah, you can just play around and see what colors fit perfectly. And now you guys can see that the black outline that we added is starting to show slowly, but it's going to look a lot more phenomenal at the end. Just wait and see. Also, I just saw an issue in here, so you guys can see that since these two are overlapping, there's actually this weird square, and to fix that, it's actually very simple. So instead of using these ones, we're going to use the smaller ones because they are smaller and they fit in that area. And in case you don't want to select them and give them 10 and then change this one again to the perfect value, what you can do is simply select one of these guys, click on copy values, and then select these two and then paste color. And this is perfect. It's going to basically do all of this for you, and it is also very perfect. Nice. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to add glow on top of this because, like I said, this is going to be very glowy. So we're going to select where is it, this one, and then we're going to give it a new layer, let's say 2, or you can go to the layer first and then place it, and we're just going to basically like add these pretty much like that, and then we want to just just make them perfectly align with the block's position. This way they don't look weird, because we don't want them to look weird. And now you guys can see there is a small area that can't be filled with these guys. It's too big. So you can just use this one and just flip it. Like so, and it just perfect. Perfect fitting, and you can just place it in here as well by clicking that one more time. So now this one, we don't want it to be black, obviously, so select it, edit object, and then give it the color of 6. And now you guys should see that it's starting to look really cool. However, what I also like to do is we're gonna do it up here first. So we're gonna select everything, copy and paste it, and then go to the warping system. Place this at the bottom center like that, and then scale it down, and then move it down, and then double click on this, and then make it a bit more saturated. And this should give your glow a much cleaner. Look, and we're going to do that for all of these guys. So we're just going to copy and paste this one and place it pretty much everywhere. As you guys can see, I don't use the free move over here to move it freely. And the reason for that is because if you're using glow, you should be very, very precise about your movements. So you don't want to use some kind of, inaccurate ways to move the block. So like that, we have created a very, very nice looking block. However, there is still a lot missing. I mean, this is still nowhere near featured worthy, so yeah, we're gonna have to spice this up even more. So we're gonna go to a new layer. Let's say we go to 4, and one object I always love adding is this one, and this one just looks absolutely phenomenal. So if you add it like that, go to edit object. As you guys remember, I said that some objects have base and detail. So this black stuff is the base and the white stuff is the detail. So select everything, and we want to make the black stuff completely transparent. So to do that, you want to give it the color of, let's say, 5, and then you want to make 5 black and also blending. This way it's going to make it completely transparent, and I always like to have my colors 4 as black and 5 as black blending. So now you guys should see that we only have those sections, which is just perfect. So you just want to place these like so, and just make sure that they are perfectly we're gonna see that there's a small issue. For example, in here and also in there, can't really fill this without it doing problems. So there is a secret object that is placed under here, and if you scroll to the left, you should see this one, and that is actually the exact same one as that one. It is a bit too big or too small, so you can use this one if you want to. And yeah, this does not look that bad. Just make sure that your positioning is perfect, and that should be pretty nice. So place it in here and also in there, and now we're actually going to give it a detail color of 10. So this way they're all kind of like that, which looks pretty cool. However, there's some weird stuff because these guys should be on top of everything. So we're gonna go edit, select everything firstly, and then edit group, and then T1. and then just give it is the order of 9. And in case it's still not on top of everything, just give it like T2, and now it should be pretty good looking. So now you guys can still see that the block just doesn't look that good. It's just there's stuff missing, or it's just a bad block design. So we want to spice it up and just keep adding stuff until it looks good without making it messy. This is really all block design is about. So we're gonna go to a new layer again, and this time we're gonna add glow on the inside, because otherwise we would not be able to see the black outlines that we added. So again, just place one of these guys, and want to have them exactly like so. And we also want to add this one like that, place it in there and copy and paste it for this area, and select everything, give it 6. And now you guys should see that it's just looking much cleaner, but still not too good. So there's actually a very cool block that I like to use, which is under the particles and in here. This one is very nice looking, and especially if you scale it like so and you place it right there. So you want to select one of the glow objects, copy values, and then select this one and then paste color. This way we have the exact same color. You guys can see that it's just starting to look bye.